Hey everyone! Alright, so I just got back from our leadership conference and I wanted to hop in here and talk to you about storytelling and things that I learned from the keynote speaker at this conference. And if you just listened to Jeff Hill or Ashley Felddyson on the National Wake Up Call, you heard them reference this speaker. So the keynote speaker at our conference was a woman named Kindra Hall, and she is a professional storyteller, and she was absolutely amazing. And I'm going to get the actual recording for you to watch, but I don't have it yet. Beachbody hasn't published it yet, and I don't want you to wait. But when I have it, you have to watch her because you will literally be peeing your pants. She is hilarious, and she made us laugh and cry and dream and think, and it was just amazing. So this is so relevant, and I was thinking this as she was presenting. So last year at this time, I think it was October 15th, I presented on the National Wake Up Call on storytelling, on how I tell my story to build my business. But somewhere over the past year, I feel like we've gotten away from that because people are like, shorter posts do better. And in your opinion, right, you might think when I do a shorter post, I get more likes. But likes are not a good judgment of success. If you're not telling your story and you're not getting people to relate to you on a deeper level through a longer post, then likes don't freaking matter because likes aren't translating into sales. So at some point we got away from telling our story and we got too focused on chasing likes and followers with shorter posts. And so I want to get back to sharing your story, to writing longer posts, to not worrying about likes and focusing on getting the right people who are resonating with you on those deeper levels. So everything that Kindra shared is what you need to hear right now. And so I am going to share what I learned from her and how I'm putting my spin on it and how I want you to put your spin on it. And then when her recording becomes available, I'll share that with you. So first things first is, why does storytelling work? Storytelling works because humans by nature are attracted to stories. So think about what we do in the evenings, what we do on the weekends. We watch TV. We want to watch a story. We get so wrapped up in a person's story, right? How many of you get so hooked in, not recently because we read personal development books, but a fiction book where you don't want to put that book down. You just keep turning the pages. At nighttime, we don't sit down and read infographics and research articles. We want a story. This is why we love gossip so much, because we want the story. So they did a study of all the Super Bowl commercials and they analyzed, okay, which type of Super Bowl commercial is the most successful? Is it one that tells a story? Is it one that features celebrity endorsements? Or is it one that has cute animals? And they found that it was the ones that tell a story. And so even though this one features animals, it was the story from a few years ago, 2014. There was a Budweiser commercial with puppies and a horse, and that was the most viral commercial and most impactful commercial to date. And it was because it told a story, and that commercial didn't even mention beer, but it told a story. So we're naturally attracted to stories. So if you're not telling a story, people aren't going to be attracted to you. They're not going to want to read it. Number two is it changes the conversation. This is my favorite part that I'm going to share with you guys, okay? So please pay attention. These anthropologists went out and they spent $250 on random knickknacks. And then they put these knickknacks on eBay with made-up stories to see how they would perform. Okay, so one of the examples, and she'll go over all the examples, I'm just going to go over two of them. One was a little pink horse figurine, like a My Little Pony, and they bought it for $1. And they put it on eBay, and they wrote the story as if it was a mom getting rid of it. And the mom wrote, I'm an empty nester, I'm cleaning out my house and I'm selling all of these items, and I just came across this pink horse and my daughter used to spend hours playing with it on the windowsill, and we have such great memories, and I hope that whoever buys this horse will develop those same memories with their daughter. $1 they bought it for, they made up that story, they sold that horse, a little miniature figurine, for $104.50. The next example was this little globe paperweight, and they bought it for $1.49. They put it on eBay, and they made up this story about how this woman was in a relationship and she fell in love, and they traveled the world, and this globe was representative of all the places they went, and they took it with them, but they had broken up. And little by little, she was selling off each piece that they had collected in their travels, and this was the last piece she was selling, and she was hoping that it was going to go to somebody who would find true love. She bought it for $1.49, sold it for $197.50, all because of a story that they made up. Now, I don't want you to make up stories, but they spent a total of $250 on knickknacks, and by making up stories, they sold them for a total profit of $8,000. They made 3,100% profit increase. And this is where she was like, so I don't know why you're in your business. You should basically be selling things on eBay and with stories. But the point is, people buy stories of hopefulness, of love, of memories. They don't buy the thing. So if you are so caught up in selling the thing, Shakeology, Beachbody On Demand, Energize, you're not having success because you're not sharing the story. People buy the story, not the thing. So if you are getting price objections, she said this, you are not telling the right story. You have to tell the story of what this will do for them, what it has done for you. And so you cannot be leading with the actual product. Think of the problem, think of the solution, think of the story. So for example, last night I made a transformation post, and I shared the story of how my husband and I used to lay on the couch all weekend and binge eat, and binge watch the Food Network and play Words with Friends, and we never did anything. And then on Sunday nights I'd say, tomorrow I'm gonna start, and Mondays would come and go, and I'd have to go to work on Monday with my pants unbuttoned. And then finally I saw a friend's post on social media, and so I started to make these healthy changes, and Sean then got on board, and now here's where we are, and we deleted the Words with Friends app, and we don't have cable anymore. That was the story, and I got so many applications from that last night, from people saying, that's my story, my husband and I don't have energy, we want the energy, we want the transformation, we need the passion. So I sold the story, not the challenge pack. So that's what you need to get in the habit of doing, is are you sharing your story with every single thing? And then stories are memorable. This is the third reason why stories work, because they're co-creative. Because when I told you that story, did you think about what you and your husband do on the weekends or what you did do on the weekends? So when you hear a story, you start putting yourself into the story or thinking of how your story is similar or different. And so we co-create these stories and then we remember them. So if you're not telling stories that people relate to, then they're not remembering you, which is why you have to be telling stories and not be focusing on short posts that get more likes. So the problem is that we allude to our stories, we don't actually tell the story because maybe we're uncomfortable with it or we don't know how to share it. And so, for example, I love this example, and then I'm going to share my own example with you, is this professional storyteller was saying how she was working with a client who was in a similar business to ours. And this client was saying she keeps talking about how through this business she was able to get more time with her family. So Kindra said, more time with family is too vague. You're alluding to the problem, but you're not telling the actual problem. So this girl switched up her marketing and she told the story of how one day it was Author's Day at school, and she got her daughter all dressed up as an author and she sent her off to school, but then she had to go to work. And while she was at work, her phone blew up with all of these messages from other moms who were there taking pictures of her daughter dressed up for Author's Day, and she was filled with tears. So she went home and she said, I'm going to bust my ass and I'm going to make this business work so that next year I will be there on Author's Day. And sure enough, she was able to quit her job, and next year she was the mom at school taking pictures of all the kids dressed in their Author's Day costumes and sending them to the moms who couldn't be there. That's what that business had done for her. So think about how impactful that is. That is a legit story, something that moms can resonate with. I started crying when she told this story. And then I started thinking of, okay, I have a similar kind of story. So I remember I would always talk about how I didn't come from much. I don't come from a family that had a lot, and this is my rags to riches story. Here's London. But one day I saw Lindsay Matway make this post about how she grew up as the only girl in a family of, I think, 3 boys, and she had 2 alcoholic parents. So they had a lot of puppies. So there was pee all over the house, and it was very dirty and smelly. But one day a relative got new carpet, and they had all these extra carpet scraps. And so Lindsay asked her, hey, can I have these carpet scraps? And Lindsay was like 10 years old. And so Lindsay took the carpet scraps and stapled them all in her room and basically put down her own carpet. And she said she was so proud to then be in her room because she made something out of nothing, and how that translates into exactly what she did with her life. She made something out of nothing. And then I started to remember about my story, about how I was being too vague. And then I remembered I didn't have a bedroom until I was like 9 years old. Me and my dad lived with my great-grandparents in a very old house. And so I stayed in my dad's room on this little couch that pulled out into a bed at nighttime that was like very tiny. And I like grew out of it. But then finally when I was like 9, my family cleared out the attic and made that into a room for me. But it didn't have air, it didn't have heat, so it was freezing. It was 100 degrees in the summer, but I loved that room because it was finally a place for me. And how I worked so hard to give London her own room, and how every morning when I walk into her room, I am just so thankful that I was able to give her this space when she was born, right? That's a specific story that people resonate with. So if you aren't sharing those specific stories and you're just being too vague about, I want more time with my family, I want to be present with my kid, I want to give my family the house they want, people aren't relating to that. How can you dig deeper and share a specific story? And then I'm going to skip this video story. But here's the foolproof storytelling strategies. Okay, so number 1 is find the story. So if you are sitting here and you're like, but I don't have a story like that, what am I supposed to share? Here's what she says to do. Number 1, make a list of your firsts. Right? The first paycheck you got, the first post you made, the first time you were able to take your family out to lunch with your paycheck, the first, whatever, the first time a challenger messaged you and said, I love this, Shakeology is life, or the first coach you got, how excited you were. Make a list of firsts. Those are specific stories. Number 2, make a list of all of your customers and coaches. And by doing that, you're going to remember certain stories about these coaches and these customers. And those are stories like how it took Kate 9 months of me talking to her in order to get her to sign up. And now, right, how she's kind of experiencing that same thing and we're working through it. Number 3, make a list of your biggest challenges. So if your challenge is time management, right, you can make a whole story about that. What are your other challenges? Those are all specific stories. Number 4, the story of the one who got away. So she shared a story of how she started something similar like this, and she had one name on her chicken list, and she was like, I'm gonna reach out to this girl because she's so good, like I'm gonna do it. But she procrastinated, and then finally when she reached out to her, the girl was like, oh, I actually signed up 2 days ago with someone else. So you, I'm sure, have a story that's similar to that. So that is a story. Number 5, when someone said you couldn't, but you did anyway. I talk about this all the time because my husband said I couldn't do this, that he didn't want me to do it, that I would fail, and I did it anyway. I proved him wrong. Number 6, make a note of everyday moments, right? Just stop and be thankful for some of the things that happen to you in the day, or learning moments that you have, or when you're out in public and you see something awful happen to someone, right? What happens during your day? That's a specific story that you can share. And you want details. You want to be vivid. You have to create these stories that people can see themselves in. They need to co-create these stories. Okay. So crafting the story. So finding your story, do those 6 things. Crafting the story, there are 3 parts. So I hope you're taking notes here. Number 1, first is normal. Normal is what was. And then in the middle, we have the explosion, or the decision for you to change. And then we have the new normal of what is possible. So the problem is that a lot of coaches start with just the middle, the moment you decided to be a coach, and what has changed since you've been a coach, how coaching is doing this, this, and this for you. And you forget to leave out that beginning part of what life was like before this. So you have to include that part. What was normal? What was life like before you found coaching and that was your decision, and how things have changed? So if you're not painting that whole picture, people aren't going to see themselves in it because they haven't made the decision yet. They're still in this beginning part that you are leaving out and you're not mentioning. So you have to set the scene for people. Include emotions, include descriptives. And then lastly is telling your story. The most important story, she said, is the one that we tell ourselves. And so she was great about this, and I know a lot of you deal with this, where you feel guilt, right? I'm working too much and not spending time with my child, or I'm working too much and not spending time on my actual work. Hi, babe. Okay, I'll get you something out of there. 1 second. I think she has a bag of garbage right now. Okay, so anyway, so she said, so Kindra shared this story of how she had a daughter, she has a son and a daughter, and she's sitting on the floor with her daughter, and they're playing with blocks, and her daughter is saying, Mommy, I'm building this castle, and we're princesses. And Kindra's like, yeah, and she's like, and we get to live in this castle because we work. That's what the little girl said. We live in this castle because we work. And that's when Kindra said, all right, I need to stop the mom guilt, because I'm teaching her that working hard is going to give her the things that she wants. Her seeing me work and travel for work and do what I have to do for work isn't taking away from her. It's giving her that sense of, okay, this is something I need to do if I want nice things. And that really resonated with me, and I know it's going to resonate with a lot of you. And some of you have said, oh, I have such mom guilt when I feel like, oh, I should be with my child when they're little. And here's my philosophy, right? Right now, when your kids are younger, first of all, okay, now I'm going on a different tangent. But if you tell me I'm on my phone all day long, that's your choice to be on your phone all day long. You can choose to be more disciplined, to choose to wake up earlier, to work when they're napping or they're at school, and to work later at night. That's what I did, right? Remember last year, I stayed up until 3 or 4 a.m. every night, and that's when I built my business. And then I'd get up at 7 and be present with London. So that was the sacrifice that I made. But you choose when you are working. And then when I am, like right now, London, please don't go in there. Like my daughter's going in the garbage right now because I'm doing this video, so I gotta wrap it up. But when she does see me working or doing these videos, I realize, okay, this is a small sacrifice that I'm making. She's not going to grow up and remember, oh, my mom was always like doing these videos and working. But she's going to remember when she's at school and there's a Halloween parade and I'm the mom there. When it's Author's Day and I'm the mom there. When I'm the mom that is at the bus stop, right? Natasha always talked about her goal for retiring was to be able to put her daughter on and off the bus, and she made that a reality. So that's a story that Natasha is sharing. So for those of you with young kids who are saying, oh, I feel too guilty, this is taking time away from my family, that's only happening because you're choosing to let that happen because you're not being disciplined enough. And you don't have the long-term vision. Right now, yes, it might be taking a little bit of time away from your family, but what is it going to give your family in the long run? Sure, I take time away from London at nighttime. I miss her bath times and her bedtimes most every night because I'm doing calls for you guys. But what does that allow me to do? Take her to Disney multiple times a year. Take her to Florida. Take her to the beach. We have traveled every month this year because of those small sacrifices. So me being able to see her joy at Disney and every day have her talk about Disney and going to see Cinderella is worth me skipping bath time and having Sean give her a bath because I don't like doing that anyway. So you have to have that long-term vision. What are you willing to sacrifice now for the longer, the bigger picture? You have to have that in your mind. So storytelling is what you need to do. So this week, every time you make a post, I want you to think of a specific story. How can you create a story in that post? It might be long. You might not get as many likes. But guess what? Quality is better than quantity. Getting the right people to like and engage with you is far better than getting 500 likes from people just because it was something quick and funny. Because that doesn't convert into coaches or sales. That is just humor and entertainment. You need to dig deeper than just trying to entertain people. You need to connect with people because this is a business, a people and relationship business. And that's oftentimes why cold invites don't work right away because they don't know you and they want to know you better. And if they go to your page and they don't get a good sense of who you are, they don't read a post and think, oh my gosh, I love this girl, this is exactly me, then they're not going to want to join you or sign up with you. So this week, every post, I want you to tell a story. What I did last night on the plane is I write all of my posts in the Notes app on my phone. And at the top of my Notes app, I wrote, people buy the story of hope, love, and memories. We don't sell the thing. We buy the story of what the thing will do for us. And if you're not telling the right story, you're going to get objections. That is what I put at the top of my Notes app so that every time I go to write a post this week, that's what I'm going to see. Don't sell the thing, sell the story. Tell the story. So I hope that this was helpful. And again, once I have the actual recording, I'll share that with you. But share those stories, be vulnerable, dig deep, remember specific things. Do the struggle web if you haven't done a struggle web already, or do a storyboard of your life. That might help. But anytime you can be as specific as possible and as vivid, right? Pretend you are a legit writer and you are writing a story, you're setting the scene. That's the kind of mentality you have to have in order for these to be successful and for people to connect with you. All right? I hope this helps. Bye, guys.